Hi there. I'm Amy Johnson, for
Yes,
those
we
who
can do
don't
it.
know me, and thank you so much for having me as part of this event. I wish I could have been there live with everyone, but nonetheless, I'm really grateful to be part of this and grateful to get to just play a very small role in what everyone is doing for Shannon. I think it's amazing to see. When I think about Shannon, I think he's just the ultimate support person. He's supported me in my work and business in so many ways, from technical to emotional and just running the whole gamut. And I know he's an incredible coach who's so good at holding space for people. And given the theme of kind of what we're looking at here, this bigger, deeper essence, like our being, what and who are we really? I think it's so perfect that we're doing this, that Shannon gets to receive this in a sense, because that is so much of what he's done for others, again, in so many different ways. So um yeah, so thank you for allowing me to be part of this. when when like this really big stuff happens, like what Shannon's going through, um, huge things that just shake the foundation of who we thought we were, how we thought life was going to go, what we thought was real and true. It's like the huge questions in life really come up. You don't have to ask them. You don't have to pose those questions. They're just right there. They're right there in our face. Like questions like, what is this all about? What is real? Who am I? Am I a body that gets sick and that will die? Is that who we are, really? Am I my past, which can't be found, by the way, can only ever be found in some fuzzy memories that come and go on their own? Am I the story of my life? Am I this collection of experiences? Am I this character and this personality? All of which are constantly, literally disappearing, do not exist so often. And then sometimes they sort of come into view and they feel very real, and we feel very much like, no, I am this character in this body, and I have that past, and I have this supposed future, although we know that's very made up. All of that is made up. The body is constantly changing. That can't possibly be who we are. There is no past except as memories, and those memories are fleeting and coming and going. There is no core self in the way that our mind can conjure it up, right? In the sense of, I am these traits and this personality and these experiences. None of that is here right now. It's only ever here as thought, if it's here at all. So I love how, reflecting on what Shannon's going through, what we all support clients through all the time, these really huge things that, of course, initially are like, oh no, didn't want that, wasn't in the plans, didn't want that to happen. How right along with them is a spontaneous arising of these really big questions that are, seem to be anyway, kind of really forcing us to look at what is real, what is true and real. That you are a body with a past and a collection of qualities can't be real because it isn't here right now. What is here right now? When we look toward our fundamental being, whatever that means, these words don't really do it, but like, what is our essence? All of this stuff comes and goes in awareness, in this space that feels like a fundamental being that doesn't change. There's what's always changing, which is all kinds of stuff. And there's something here right this minute, always been here for as long as you've existed, that doesn't change. And that has to be who we are. That has to be what's real, because it's the one thing in the room that hasn't changed, even when the room is always changing. So I just think this is so valuable to look toward. What is here has to be here right this minute, has to have been present in every single moment ever. That can't die, that has never ever once changed. We know what it's not. We're very good at all of us, we're very good at this point of knowing pretty clearly what it's not. It's not thoughts, it's not feelings, it's not a body or circumstances or any of that. But what is it? And not to name it, because of course that's just more ideas, but to truly, truly rest there. Like, let curiosity kind of swim toward that and hang out in that. And as soon as it has a name, or as soon as there's ooh, I found it, which that may never show up because there's not really an it to be found, but all of that would be thought about it, and that's fine. There will be conceptual ideas of who and what we are. That's fine. But we know those concepts aren't it. It is not nameable, it's not touchable, but it's here right this second. It's not something we discover. It's not something that's found later. It's not something we realize after this body dies. It's here right now, which I just think is the best pointer ever. I love that pointer because it highlights too how often we're off in imagination in the mind saying, oh, so and so said it was this, or so and so used that word, or someday I'll find it. It has nothing to do at all with any of that. Like if you exist, who you are is here right this instant, right now. Look around. Like it is in this. It's here now. And of course the mind wants to figure that out and name it and all of that, but we know it can't. And so we just get to rest in some essence, some sense of something. And more call that home. Know that as truth. Know that as who you are, as home. That is our very being. You don't have to travel to get there. It takes no time. It is instantly here, always immediate being here, not over there, nowhere else, in no other time or space. And the more we rest in that, whatever it is, that essence, that being, I think everything else just kind of falls into place. It becomes, this is my own experience with this personally, is it becomes so obvious what is not it, what's coming and going, our fears, our worries, our vulnerabilities, our fragility, the timeline of a life that we have thought was us, our expectations for how that life would look and how it would go, our expectations for how it should go, our opinions about how it should go. What is a better life? What is a worse life? What do we want to have happen? What do we not want to have happen? Who the heck knows all of that? No one. They're blips in consciousness, otherwise referred to as thought, coming and going, coming and going. And there is something that never, ever, ever comes and goes. And I would say, I believe it never dies. How can it die if it's not a body, it's not a tangible thing of form. And as far as we know, it's always here and always been here. Maybe it dies, I don't know, but hasn't thus far. It is stable and still. And I just find more and more that is it. That as much as the mind wants to understand, it wants to explain, and our minds as human beings, our minds as coaches and helpers, our clients' minds. There's such a movement to understand, to make sense of, to bring in stuff, to rearrange the comings and goings, right? To make this more stable and feel more comfortable over here and have hope and have positive mindset versus that mindset and beautiful, amazing that we can play in the land of relativity. We can play in the coming and going. Apparently, we are, right? There seems to be a playing in the coming and going that happens. That's great. It's full of highs and lows. There's no control there. There's no there, we can't make anything go our way, obviously, or we would have things going otherwise. But we can play in that, and that's beautiful. And that all the while we're playing in that, full of the highs and lows, the wins and the losses, there's something that's never ever moved. And we just get to rest in that. And I just feel as a coach and just myself, I'm sure you all feel this way as well, that my work has just so naturally followed my own familiarity with my being, my own resting in being, in what doesn't change. And when the focus was on the coming and going and figuring out how to make the better stuff come more often and the worst stuff go a little more quickly, then that's where the focus was. And that's okay. That's just how that looked. There was a lot of conversation, a lot of understanding, a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, some of them very, very helpful. And that as there's been this deepening and a resting and a quiet, still the full coming and going. I'm not saying that ever changes. Who knows? But seeing that for what it is and really being rooted in what is here and who we really are, which has never moved, which is here right this instant and in every single instant. It just doesn't make so much sense to try to understand. That just looks, I don't know. It's just playing in form, which is fine for what it is. But it's not the way we can be of most service to ourselves and to the people that we are in service to. We can point them to what never moves and never changes and never gets sick and never dies and never worries. That is just fully open room, space for all of the coming and going. We can introduce nicer thoughts and hope and all of that, but also know and recognize and really come to live in this space that doesn't really care what the thoughts say. It doesn't think hope is better than lack of hope. It doesn't think nice thoughts are better than not nice thoughts. That's all coming and going, and what isn't. And again, I just am so inspired by us coming together to look at this for ourselves and for our clients, which feels again just so very much in the spirit of Shannon, of how Shannon has always been giving so much. And also just him as this example of a human being who is going through something really tough in human being terms, where there's a lot of coming and going, I would have to imagine, or there has been. And where he also, and all of us also, can really look toward what doesn't move and maybe find some peace there and maybe not. It's okay if there's not peace there. It's not, in my view, it isn't something we do to feel better. It's something we look toward because it's what's true, it's what's real, and it's what never moves. And yeah, I think we can't point others toward that unless and until we're doing this and living in this space and recognizing that being as who we really are ourselves. The more we're coming from that, we're just so naturally doing that for others. And that's what I know you're all doing, which is amazing. So amazing, the stuff that we get to share with the world. And it's what I've seen Shannon do and where Shannon comes from. So I hope, again, I don't think any of this is new for any of you, but I hope that something in this is just a nice grounding reminder and that we can always know where to look. And that just feels so grounding and so valuable. We always know where to look, even when we feel far from it, even when we feel very much knocked around by the comings and goings. We know where to look, and that's just incredibly valuable.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, Amy.